Warning: this documentary contains discussions, reenactments, and depictions related to sensitive topics, including suicide, gun violence, street life, bullying, family violence, and the use of graphic language. These elements are presented for raw and explicit educational purposes, aimed at providing enlightenment and edification, not to glorify or promote any of the behaviors or lifestyles depicted. Viewer discretion is advised. This documentary serves a dual purpose: to enlighten young people in the streets about the harsh reality that the penal system has no hesitation in sentencing a 13-year-old child to 50 years in prison, and to provide a raw and honest perspective to judges and prosecutors. It highlights how many children are coerced into the false beliefs of a destructive system with little to no protection from its effects. The film challenges society to acknowledge its role in shaping these outcomes and emphasizes the importance of showing sympathy, mercy, and love to children both before and after the courtroom. What if it were your child? This is not an attempt to embarrass the Michigan Department of Corrections or those in positions of authority. Instead, it is intended to enlighten and raise awareness for juveniles and those who may be impacted. The individuals who grew up in the same household as Eric, including his mother, have chosen not to participate in his documentary. While their perspectives are absent, this film remains a powerful reflection of Eric's journey, growth, and the lessons he has learned. This documentary aims to spark meaningful conversations about healing, accountability, and transformation. We hope it inspires viewers to reflect, understand, and engage with the story being shared.
World, it's Eric, aka E Shooter, aka Eric Martin, reporting live from Wayne County. This is the end of the documentary. Detroit delinquent, 15-year-old prison 15 years later. Caught a case at 14, went to prison at 15. I'm now 32 years old, and more willingly, I'm trying to get this time off me. It's been a long journey. I've been shooting this documentary going on 2 years now. I hope y'all tune in. I hope y'all like it. I've basically documented my whole entire life, you know what I mean, from in prison before and after. So hope y'all receive it. Hope y'all receive the people that's in it. You know what I mean? Anybody that's in here, I actually got love for it and that understand me. No shot to my family, you know what I mean? But truthfully, they just don't know me. So I pick people to be this documentary that actually knows me. I still love my family, but they don't know me. Shout out to all the people that support me in the streets. Shout out to all the people that support me behind the scenes. Right now, I just ask for y'all prayers and hope y'all like it.
What up, world? It's Baby Grizzle, aka Marmar, reporting live from the PM with the Westside homie Linwood E. Shooter E. I'm simply speaking on his behalf as a sponsor to something positive. The homie became an alchemist and turned the silver situation gold. Gotta respect the prison reform and the redemption that's displayed in the documentary. So without further ado, here's Detroit delinquent, 15 years old, as a prisoner, 15 years later.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from a prisoner at the Michigan Department of Corrections, Alger Maximum Facility. To accept this call, press 0.
It's popping. It's early in the morning. I'm about to start this documentary. You know what I'm saying? It's very important for me to get this done. Despite my circumstances, I gotta talk to these kids out here. Part 1.
Breaking news. A tragic incident occurred today on the west side of Detroit. Multiple gunshots were reported.
Bullets rang out today in Detroit, and families are devastated.
In the west side of Detroit today, a deadly shooting took place at a
The
restaurant.
suspect being charged is a 15-year-old.
Is a 15-year-old boy. The shooter's name is Eric Martin.
This teen will be charged as an adult.
I don't know, we just heard boom. We heard them when they came in, man. We kind of looked at each other, and he looked out the window as if he might have tried to jump out the window, but man, they was, by the time we heard anything, man, there was 1,000 cars outside, man. It's like it was the block next door. I mean, block over, and the houses next door. It's like they wanted them, man. I want to say they raided not only his house, but the 2 houses next door. His brother was walking to the store, man. They snatched him up, threw him, beat his ass. But yeah, man, it just happened so fast. Like, I guess we should have been expecting it, but really wasn't expecting it, man. And just seeing, his sister, I remember his cousins, and I'm just outside crying, like, what I'm saying, his brother, just everybody looking real sad, man. His mom was gone; she hadn't made it back yet.
I said I won't miss my case, but I will speak about the detective that apprehended me, because it always astonishes me when I reflect on him compassionately breaking protocol for me, simply for the goal of fairness. I'm just gonna go straight off script on this one. Listen, when the detective came and got me, man, he put me in a car, and he didn't care. He was like, bruh, you about to write this statement. And before he wrote the statement, he put me in the car, and there was 2 white guys in the front, one in the back. And he was like, all right, I gotta get a statement from you. Bruh, I was so, disoriented and lost that I just got arrested.
You have 1 minute remaining.
So, anyway, man, this dude started at 21 years old. You know what I mean? We 21. I ignored him, then he went to 20, then he went to 19. We literally counted all the way down to 14. This dude had so much compassion on me, man. This dude damn started crying up in the car. He said, I never knew he was looking for a child. He kicked both of them white detectives out of the car and said, I'm about to write this statement for you. You know, this man created a statement for me, said I was high, drunk, I was scared, this dude bullied me. He wrote this whole statement for me because he understood the laws. And anyway, he let me out the car and hugged my mom and everything. He kept me in front of the house all day just talking to me. And he said, had he knew I was that young, he would have warned me before he even came and got me there. And that always just stood out for me. That's how young I was, that he wanted to actually shield me. The person that supposed to be our enemy, this dude actually tried to show me some love. I feel I had to speak on that.
Put us in different cars, took me down, you know what I'm saying? Held me down for a couple hours. When they finally let me out, I get home, and here they had raided my house, a couple others. They was just I guess they decided to go hunting that day, man.
Yeah, niggas want to know where I'm from, B. I'm a deep boy, Detroit, that is. You know what I mean? West Side, y'all love. The whole city, I'm a West Side boy, Lovewood, NFL, Taylor Street, you know what I mean? I'm the home of Big Meats, home of Big Shot, Pete Visitor, Bezzo, Dope Boys, Team Eastside, you know what I mean? Home of the originators, B. Those deep boys out here, we go everywhere. Getting that paper, influencing the culture, we've been here. You know what I mean? We do the same thing everywhere. Linwood, Taylor Boys, Detroit.
I moved away. One thing I can say, I wish that, I didn't move away. It's because sometimes I feel like, man, if I was there a little bit, more with them, things wouldn't have went down, like they did. The dude had a rough life.
It's like he just got mixed in the wrong path. Shit, half of us ain't know what he was going through at home. You know what I'm saying?
I was making some of the same decisions. Like I said, I was misguided. I was hurt, man. I didn't really know what to think. I didn't think I was gonna see him again. Like I said, 2 weeks later, I get locked up, put in JDF, get put on the same pod as this nigga. Get locked up. They put me in my cell. I'm just in my window. I see him walk in. I hear his voice. Then I look like, that's my man's Eric. I get the bang in the door. Like, E. He go crazy. Like, oh! Almost got boofed and put in this room. He didn't want to go in this room and shit. Like, I wanted to do some time with him. You know what I'm saying? Like I told him I wanted to take a plea. You know what I'm saying? I was going to take a 7-year plea so I can be with him, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because I can that's my man's. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to. I thought we was going to do everything together,
Prison life. For me, It was definitely it was tumultuous in the beginning. It was definitely survival of the fittest, predator versus prey. Uh, I got jumped on, stabbed, wrapped. You know what I mean? Money put on my head. Went against the gangs. You know what I mean? Just about being me standing down, standing up. You know what I mean?
When I heard about the situation and what happened to him, I'm like, shit. As kids, man, we played around a lot and we joked a lot. So we never thought nothing serious like this would come about. It messed me up. I lost a friend. He lost a childhood.
You know, it hurt me because we spent a lot of time together, you know, and he was more worried about getting killed or get caught slipping. We never even really thought about, you know, what if he get locked up? Or what if, you know what I'm saying, he goes through time, and it never really crossed my mind until that day, and then it was like, damn, you know, it's just a high faith thinking they're going to try him as a child, you know, and he'll get a second chance, and that wasn't the case, you know. It was far from a second chance. What they did was put him in a situation to completely destroy him.
In prison, I slit my wrist the wrong way. They ended up putting me in a hole for 2 days, and I was right back out. I definitely want to speak about the process of sentencing and just what we go through. That's what I went through as a kid and what kids go through. Directly speaking, talking to the people that actually come in the courtroom, the judge, the prosecuting attorney, you know, I hope you can take consideration that 50 years is way more than enough for somebody to learn. I definitely need you to tap into that humanity and take that consideration. I believe, like, when it comes to, like, plea deals, like, they seem to give children, like, outrageous numbers. 15, 14-year-olds and 16-year-old children get 50 years and 30 years. You know what I mean? When an average adult get 20 years for 15 years ago. So adults get way more leniency than we get. We're not playing victims. But for the most part, we are human. Because as we get older, we realize, okay, we were children. He's hoping that you realize that as well. Just asking for some more mercy. There'll be more empathy in the courtrooms. I think it's needed. It's something I come to find out that it's never taken into consideration. When I first came down, my first bunkie, he was 15, but he was already in prison at 14. He had a CSC case. I didn't know what CSC was. I didn't know what rape was. I wasn't aware of none of these type of sexual cases. But he's my first bunkie. You know, he was a white guy. That was my dog though. And he said, I ended up discovering that he had 28 years, and the person he touched was 12. And they gave him 28 years for that. I didn't understand like the measures of the time until I started going to other prisons and seeing grown ass men, 50 years old, 40 years old, doing stuff way more heinous than him, getting 1 to 5 and 2 to 5 and 3 to 10, grown men. And I compared his sentencing disparity from adults to children. I started really looking at his case. He caught his case at 13, 14 years old, and they gave him 28 years. You know me for that. And I just always thought that. And I don't really be really silent with too many like sexual cases, but for the most part, he was a kid. Like he was really a kid, and they gave him 28 years for that. I just wanted to basically bring attention to his case because that was wrong. That's too much for a kid. Giving a grown man that actually didn't even penetrate this person. Giving a grown man penetrate and rape multiple women deals to 8 to 10 and so like that. This little kid got 28 years. You know what I mean? That was my very, very first bunkie. And he was like one of the few people I was older than in prison because I came out, I was the 4th youngest person in the compound. And they put me in a room with each other. Anyway, so I just wanted to shed a little bit of light on my first bunkie.
My name is Gideon Falcone. I'm 32 years old. I'm from Southwest Michigan. I lived all over Berrien County, from New Troy to Ben Harbor, so my upbringing was diverse. I lived in small country towns with my mother and grandparents and stayed in the neighborhood with my father. I became incarcerated at the age of 14, so I would say I haven't spent over half my life incarcerated. I had people who loved me, but they had the best tools to raise me, I would say, so the environment that I grew up in was decent, but the structure and discipline weren't at the level they needed to be looking back on it. I met Eric at the Thumb Correctional Facility in Lapeer, Michigan in the beginning of 2008. I had been there for a little over a month, and he wrote in and became my bunkie.
When I think I probably was like 14 or something, my family told me that Eric was in prison and he got a long sentence. And for me, you know, I'm kind of like shielded a lot, so I was just like, you know, I honestly I didn't really care that much because we wasn't around each other, and from what I knew, like he didn't really, you know, claim me like that. So I was just like, okay, well, you know, I'm sorry to hear that, but moved on with my life.
All right, my name is Darius Sims. I'm 33 years old, and I'm here to help Eric Martin. But one of my closest friends I met in prison and juvenile. So we was entering a life that we didn't really know nothing about. It was all brand new to us. And everybody was going through stuff, but a few of us was going through something a lot different. Like me and Eric in common, we was facing, at the time, I was facing natural life actually, at 15 to 16 years old. And I think Eric was a little bit younger than us. I want to say he was 13 or 14 years old at the time. When Eric first came in, I remember it was the talk of the juvenile. Like, it was everybody. He was beefing with the whole West Side, I want to say, almost. And we really didn't get a chance to talk when he first came because he was just going through so much fighting and everything. We got to talking, and the day we became cool, it just never stopped. We always grew. We always stuck together. We was always able to call on each other, uplift each other, and just be there for each other as brothers.
Our first impressions of him was he was cool. For our age, he was a bigger kid, so he looked a little bit older, even though we're like 2 weeks apart in age. He was laid back and smooth for the most part. He had a maturity about him. He had charisma. He was confident and sure of himself, but he wasn't like no asshole or nothing. Another thing that I liked about him, he wasn't gullible or a follower, which in a place like where we lived, and especially the age we were, was kind of rare. A lot of young guys, they was easily influenced and became what we would call crash dummies or flunkies. They would join gangs and try and be a part of something to fit in and get by. And he never did that. He always stood 10 toes down and on his own too. So for me, it was the characteristics of being genuine and true to himself that really stood out to me.
Yeah, just kids 14 and 15, and 16 being forced to mature and just embrace the bullshit, you know what I mean? Because we didn't know no better as kids, and we didn't have no parental guidance in prison. So we had to just go through this shit. It's really preposterous to think back on adults that were around in these facilities. Some cared, but for the most part, they were so insensitive to seeing kids in traumatic situations that they increasingly grew apathetic. And that speaks volumes to our current level of care towards the children in our nation, for real.
My name is Vontae from Linwood, 32 years old. I first met E, we was 14 years old in JDF. We met each other because he knew my cousin. Me and E didn't really get a chance to link too much in JDF because we was on different pods, but after that we ended up going to Lapeer, where coincidentally enough we became bunkies. We clicked right away. He a protective dude overall. Anybody who know him know, you know. But he was protective over me because I was a little bit of a knucklehead. Like I was doing dumb shit all the time.
Of course, you look at prison as punishment. You want to be punished. You're punished already because you can't see your family. You can't see your. That's the punishment. But just being put in there and being stripped from everything and being treated like nothing. And instead of, you know, just sitting there and actually getting counseling, so when you do get out, you can come out and actually, you know, talk to someone else and encourage them not to go in there, you know? And we don't have that. That's not what prison is in anywhere. And it's very sad, but.
My name is Vincent Brandon. In 2007, I went to prison at 17 years old. I was incarcerated at Thumbs Correctional Facility where I met a guy by the name of Eric. First time, he was a real mild-mannered guy, smooth guy, like, you know, seemed like he was wise beyond his years. And it was just a different experience meeting a guy so young, but so cool. Bottom was like, dang, bro, you a cool little dude. And that's what made me and my guy, Darius, we drew nigh to Eric, and Eric clinged to us, and we played almost like a big brother role.
They tried to put me on medication when I came to prison. They did, but I had to get off that shit. I couldn't think about it. I had too many people. First, I had too many people trying to get on me here. So I needed to think. That's one of the reasons I didn't do drugs in the streets. Smoke and drink, I didn't do none of that type of stuff because everybody was trying to get me. For whatever reason, a lot of people were trying to get me. So I had to stay sober. So I came here, I was like, I was dosed up. I couldn't do it. I got off that.
My name is Davon Carter, 33 years old. I grew up on the east side of Detroit. I met Eric at Thumbs Correctional Facility. Basically, it was a youth prison. Like one side was for the adults, one side was for the youth. I was 16, 17 years old. Me and Eric, we got into a conversation about his case or whatever, and that's how me and Eric had met.
When I believe I was 15 or 16, he called me three-way from somebody else's number. She was like, Eric's on the phone there. And I hung up. And then I called that number back, and I was like, you talking about like Eric, my brother, and then she merged the call. And he just told me that his mom finally sat him down and told him that my dad is his dad. Because my dad died, I guess she just didn't feel the need to go through with a DNA test. No one on my dad's side of the family stepped up to take a DNA test either. And that he wanted to really start to get to know me. That's another thing that pisses me off, is no one took initiative to figure out if this was my brother. Because things probably would have been different for him. Like, you know, his life would have been different. I don't feel like he would have been in prison. I feel like he would have been around more, been around my family more, because, you know, I don't know how his family was. I can only go off what he said. It was a little bit unstable over there. So he probably would have been with us more.
So, like I said, I could not just to shoot her down all the way. I did learn like compassion. She did. She like show love to like homeless people, prostitutes and stuff like that. I actually learned how to get love through that. You know what I mean? She wouldn't really give it to me directly, but I got side effects from that. You know what I mean? I didn't really get it directly, but I seen that she can show care. You know what I mean? Because I seen how she did to my stepfather, and I seen when the dude that raised me. She used to go visit this guy in prison all the time. You know what I'm saying? Big E. She used to visit this guy all the time. So I'm assuming when I came to prison, like, all right, maybe this is going to be, she used to travel to Earth. Like, are you traveling for dog? She used to travel to Earth for this band. When I came, her own son, it took my mom to come see me like a year and a half to come see me when I first came down. At this time, I already got jumped a few times and shit. You know what I mean? And, I just wanted for some reason to be alive, some type of love. It came later on. So what I realized, I was basically just suffering through a broken heart through it all as a kid.
We pretty much had to carry knives to protect ourselves, because when we got to prison, we were so little and young. All the older people ran the prison. So it was all older, big guys, and it really went to a lot of youth. It was all type of stuff happening as far as like rapes and gang fights and fighting all these different people. And so we just had to protect ourselves in a lot of ways, and we had to adapt. We had to adapt to survive, man.
I'm still a parent, the little E inside me. Don't get it wrong. Like I said, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? That was what I was going through in the streets, was learning behavior, street mentality. Now I understand my true nature. So I'm just operating out of love in these circumstances. But of course, I still want to restore relationships with my family and stuff like that. But clearly, I became a statistic. And they rather, show love to those that's around them than those that's distant. So, like I said, I'm accustomed to it. I'm accustomed to that. Not even if it sounds like a pity party, I am. I am. And I'm basically like empirical evidence of being a borderline survivor in prison from a kid. You know what I mean? I speak for a lot of people that has kids, you know what I'm saying? So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for who I turned out to be. Despite what I went through, I just want my ordeal to spark like some type of disruption to the common practice of sending kids to prison,
Man, him being away, I don't, it's hard. It's hard seeing my friend like that. Hard talking to him. I'm used to the one-on-ones, conversations, talking, playing, joking. I ain't used to talking over the phone. It's like, it's hard, so.
My name is Chavez. I'm 29. Left over when I was 15. 2009. I felt blessed further served. Glad after I had my very first conversation with Eric, Danny Martin, and joined him, aka Shorter. God definitely played on it in people's lives there to help encourage them. He was always one that been ahead of his time at a very early age and was always sincere and genuine actions that go to an environment that desperately needed a president as strong as he is. Let's emphasize both. As far as I can remember, Eric, just not despite whatever you may have been encountering. Fast forward 15 years, that was more admirable changing into a culinary he was closed doors. Lucky directly close from he definitely did not hesitate to embrace me and still further after I confided to him about my situation. Just sentenced to 22 or 40 years, not knowing how to even process that type of stress. Instead, going as far as his own situation and outcome. He told me despite what you may be going through, you don't find yourself in just doing the numbers I was given, reminding me that there's still a lot to be grateful for. But there are no numbers how unique he was. He awoke perspective on how to look at the good and certain things to the bad.
Eric took a plea bargain for like 40-something years at the age of like 14 years old. And I just remember when he was fighting his case and going through that, we used to be talking and praying and different stuff every day. But I just remember I always used to be telling him, like, man, don't do it, don't do it. But I remember he was telling me, like, his mother was telling him she wanted to see him again one day. And he actually, like, kind of like sacrificed all that time just be for something like that. Whereas we were saying, man, my mama just keep telling me she want to see me again one day. He really didn't, I don't even think he knew what he really was signing up for or nothing about the law enough for him to be making a decision like that at 14 years old. He pretty much was railroaded in a lot of ways where he just listening to this attorney, they just making him give his life away, and he don't know his rights, or, he didn't really know nothing.
To be able to understand where you at that age, like mentally, physically, emotionally, and all the things, and then the different stuff that we go through in life, the traumas and the experiences that some of us have or whatever, like, it's crazy that you would even, fix your mind to allow a kid that age to get the amount of prison time that we've been getting,
As children, we're limited to the choices that we can make for ourselves because we don't know what's best for us. Children should be held accountable for it, but we should also remember that they're children. These are young kids and they're not adults, and we can't expect them to behave or make conscious decisions as adults would. That's what I think the system is failing to realize.
Yeah, I just think it's wrong. You shouldn't charge nobody for life, you know what I'm saying, their whole life. You know what I'm saying? For one mistake, like, and then you're gonna let that dictate my whole life. Like, you gave me no room for change, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just assumed I'm gonna be this person my whole life and type shit.
Everybody came out young had a level of learned behavior. Some kids came out young with learned behavior. Some was racist. As soon as they got punched in the face, they wasn't racist no more. Some was bullies. As soon as they got stabbed, they wasn't bullies no more. They returned back to a kid. Myself was a street mentality. What returned me back to a kid was, heartbrokenness and loneliness. So we all returned back to a child because the learned behavior wasn't too deeply inside of us. But when I did learn that when you find your true nature, which is to love one another, you can actually erase your learned behavior real fast.
Our relationship was like, Eric was my little brother, he's still my little brother, that's how I've always been. I took a liking to him because he wasn't a dumb young guy. He'd listen and stuff like that, But our relationship it got strong due to the fact that, I used to try to be in his ear. Once I figured out his case and he was telling me how much time he got, I used to be in his ear or whatever, letting him know, like, you can get back, just stay focused and, don't just sit here and just accept that time and, stuff like that. But, I try to be there as much as possible or whatever for him.
I first met Lil E was like 2008, back in Lapeer. We all was locked up in Lapeer together. From the first time I met him, I was mind blown because he was 15 years old with all this time to do, you know what I'm saying? He was like one of the youngest people in there with the most time, you know what I'm saying? So, but just seeing him move how he was moving and always moved in a positive light, kept his head up, smile on his face, you would have never thought he had as much time as he had, being as young as he was, you know what I'm saying? And that shit just made me change my whole view on what I was doing when I got out, you know what I'm saying? But by us being from the same, from the same area, knowing a lot of the same people, we just clicked. And ever since then, he been my dog, you know what I'm saying? And I always told him, like, I'm gonna always be there for you.
In here, I had to learn not to measure my worth by the size of my bed or by what age I got locked up. So I matured. It wasn't about the pity of my childhood anymore, but the test of my manhood by overcoming my childhood traumas. So I had to absorb enough knowledge in order to implement wisdom and be able to reflect and ultimately understand God don't make mistakes.
But for my experience with Eric, he was what I would like to call a solid dude, and I enjoyed him as much as what we could for whatever the circumstances were. From us cooking up, us walking to the child hall, having talks about our lives and what we would want to be, life outside of prison.
You know, you take somebody and you at 15 years old and you lock them up and you release them at 60 years old because of the decision you made as a little boy. I think that's beyond crazy. I think that was a situation for him to lose hope, to give up. That's what them numbers sound like. Just give up, man. You done. You through. You know, it made me sad. I broke down. So just me being in them shoes, it's like, man, I can't imagine how he felt.
Don't nobody really know nothing about prison or the system itself when they get in there. Like, for instance, like when we got locked up, we didn't know nothing about the law. We didn't know nothing about the court system. And when we in juvenile, it's nothing in there to teach you about the law. So you really fighting a system you really don't know nothing about, no laws, no nothing. And you always locked down. Like, I remember the staff all jumping on everybody and just doing, it just was bad.
That scared straight program ain't what it is, man. You can't scare to no kid. You gotta inform him, you gotta talk to him, you gotta guide him. Gotta put him to the side, do the one-on-ones with him. If I would have had that, definitely things would have been better. Just a role model in general, that would have been better. If you think you about to take a kid to the county or scare him or something like that, you gotta talk to us, speak to us. They ain't no different than the slave master whipping his cattle. He try to put the fear in you. You just gotta speak to him. You men out here, speak to the mind, don't beat the flesh. You know what I mean? I wish somebody would have just pulled me to the side and kicked it to me. Never really got kicked it to me like that. So that's one of the cures I didn't have in my life.